Hi, welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm your host, Mary Beals-Luedtka. I'm the Director for Area Agency on Aging, NACOG, and you can reach us toll-free at 877-521-3500. This show is co-sponsored by Area Agency on Aging, NACOG, and the Division of Lifelong Learning at Yavapai College. And our producer is Danny Tomerlin. And if you want to reach her, you can call her at 928-717-7755. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests today. We have Sherry Twamley and we have Mal Otterson. Hi.
Correct. Hi.
Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it. So, you're from Cottonwood.
Yes.
So, you do some amazing, amazing things when it comes to community building. But I'd like to start out first, where did you come from? What's your background?
Okay, I was born in Michigan, raised in California and in Arizona, and came to the Verde Valley 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have been very busy since you got there.
Yes.
Yes, you have. Where do you want to start?
Well, I have a long, long history of doing community service and community organizing, but mainly my background is corporate business, and I'm trying to use all of my skills in this area. I felt my calling was here to help our neighborhoods.
And our neighborhoods need help more and more.
Mm-hmm.
We were just having a conversation about that, that it starts with the people. And you are a shining example of that because you have a very important project that I want to talk about today. And the name of it is Amigo?
Well, the name of our nonprofit organization's grassroots is Amigos del Verde Valley Volunteer Coalition, and you can learn more about it at www.amigosdelverdevalley.org.
Okay.
We're a small cadre of volunteers, unpaid, working out of our home, 7 days a week to help seniors, very low-income seniors, whose homes are in disrepair and also need mobility ramps.
And there's a lot of need for that. It seems like for a while we had a lot of funding at that at NACOG with the ARA funds,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were gone. And then all of a sudden the wait list got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So
Yes.
what a huge need there is. And you also brought with you one of your star volunteers. Mal, what's your background?
Well, I've lived pretty much the entire West Coast.
Ah,
I moved here from Seattle where I was a federal employee. Moved down here because you have much better motorcycle riding weather here. Yeah.
all right. I'm liking that.
And I haven't, my labor experience was falling timber, so now my partner is a 30 or 40 year carpenter experience. So basically I'm labor.
Okay.
He's telling me what to do and I try to do it. And we get along. That's all I got.
So I think you and your partner, aren't they the kind of the main guys for a lot of the projects that you do?
Yes, mainly Roger is in charge of assessing the bigger projects that we do. Some of them are really big. And then also Mel comes in and brings in the volunteers, coordinates everything in terms of materials as well. So there's a lot of work involved in our projects because some of them go on for 2 years.
How did you get started?
Well, I'm a landlord too, and I've rebuilt 3 of these manufactured homes on land and saw the neighbors' properties were in deep disrepair. And the mayor of Cottonwood used to say to me, Sherry, when you see 1 broken window, you'll see 2, and then you see 3, and then you see crime move in. Started realizing most of them were seniors aging in place that did not have the funds, and they were physically unable to maintain their homes. And they were in danger of actually losing their homes because of water damage or major repair issues that they couldn't finance.
So you decided to put this project together. And how long has this Amigos been going on? All the 11 years you've been here?
Actually, I
4.
did some major, very large cleanups for all of the Verde Valley, 180 tons in one day with hundreds of volunteers working in combination with our county supervisor as well as the city of Cottonwood, and then decided to just start Amigos because I saw the need was great.
So how many volunteers do you have total?
Well, we go up to 25 volunteers per special event once a year. We'll do a makeover, which sometimes involves a roof, sometimes involves a skirt on the house, and you name it.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to volunteer, though,
Mhm.
could they call you and say, I have skills and I could help?
Yes, Mel's going to go into that.
Okay, great.
We have room for everybody. We have women in their 70s that paint. Some of them just want to do yards. And we only do yards in combination with the repairs
Gotcha.
because we just don't have the manpower to do landscaping, and there's just too much of a need for that.
So how do you choose the projects?
Well, first of all, they have to qualify by income.
Okay.
We only help people that can't afford to repair their homes. So we make sure that they're really in need because there's just so much demand.
Yeah.
And sometimes I drive by a neighborhood and actually approach the person. And that's what happened recently. We even had U.S. Congressman Paul Gosar come out and help us pull weeds.
I remember that project because one of my staff went and helped with that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yes.
He was really excited about
Yes.
helping, and I saw the great picture
Yes.
from that. That was a good project. So really it's just kind of, you know, you decide where you want to put your resources, and do people donate to your program?
Well, we do accept material donations like surplus roof shingles, things like that. Mel likes to call me the chief beggar of Yavapai County. We don't take really cash donations normally. It's just materials. But I will call until I drop dead sometimes to help someone who's going to lose their home. I will not stay off the phone.
So you ask for help.
Yes,
You
I
know.
go to businesses. We partner
Yeah.
with all the businesses. We partner with all the volunteer groups to get the job done, and we've never failed. We've done 17 homes since, well, almost 17 since May 7 of this year when we started our major project this year called Adopt a Block. We were hoping we could do everything in one area of the city, but it didn't work out. They were all over in 4 communities. We do cover Sedona mobile home parks. We cover Clarkdale, Cottonwood, and the Verde villages. And it's amazing what we do with just 2 men, and then bringing in extra volunteers as needed.
There are there is one other team too.
Yeah, well, we bring them back.
Uh-huh. So you were going to talk about the volunteers that help you out, and kind of want to,
Yeah.
you know, maybe even describe a project that you've done.
Well, this house, the painting that was done, that's new skirting around
Okay.
at the base of it that Roger and I did. And before that, there was just a whole bunch of lumber stacked up. So we moved that out, put the skirting up. And that was a real interesting experience. But
Yeah, we're going to
So-
go into these 4 that are in this order so that we can show the pictures.
Yes.
So we will, there's
Okay.
a list of how we're going to go.
So
these
the
4.
first one was a
Okay.
2-year major home makeover
Yes.
for, and may I mention her name?
Yes, that's
She's
okay.
given us permission, okay, for Rose. So,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
tell us about that project, a 2-year project?
Yeah.
I didn't keep track of the
I
time.
couldn't keep track. You just kept working till it was done.
Well, she is somewhat, she's on oxygen 100% of the time.
Okay.
So that, we put in a new mailbox. I maintain her front yard, you know, just as my own obligation. We put on a new roof.
Well, let me
my-
just start off to show
okay.
the before pictures of the rodents and the materials that were there were almost impossible to believe.
Yeah.
And the first thing that happened is I received a phone call and was asked for help with weeds in the front yard. The person that went out there, the volunteer, told me he didn't want to go back, and that's the first time I've heard that from any of my volunteers. And I said, do we need to call Adult Protective Services? What's going on in this house? He said, it looks bad. He said, it's very dark, and he said, very dirty, and he said, there's flies everywhere, no kitchen trash pickup. He said, there's boards up on the windows. He said, the trash, he said, it's just unbelievable. So because I believe no means yes, I went out to see myself and find out what I could do. When I arrived, I was horrified at the fire combustion possibilities. So I looked at the weeds growing over the house, the junipers, and said, that's a fire hazard. And started pulling some of the ones that I could pull out around the driveway area. The guys came around and they saw me doing it and they said, you know, we'll help you. So they come back, and before you know it, we have this old truck of Mal's called Babe. It's a 62 Dodge.
I love it.
6 miles to the gallon. And here comes Mal with Babe. And we do 3 truckloads. It took us huge truckloads of material just to get rid of the trash that was
No,
piled
it
up.
was 10.
10
10 or
truckloads?
That's
11
terrible.
out of the
Oh my
backyard.
gosh.
So the pictures, I think, are being shown now.
Yeah.
And then we started working on one thing at a time, and at the end of the 2-year period, I was kind of upset at first because one of my volunteers suggested that we put a roof on the house. I said, where are we going to get that kind of money? How are we going to do all this? Well, I called NACOG, and I asked them, do you have any extra money? We needed $1,500 of shingles. And I thought, this is not going to happen. I mean, this is really going to be hard. So I got on the phone, kept calling people until I dropped, and it took me 3 days of not eating and sleeping to get 2 companies to come in with half each. And unfortunately, they were surplus, so they dumped them on the driveway without being bundled. So we had to get a lift. We had to do a lot of other work. But we brought in 2 other businesses, a roofing company, Vetraplex, Vets for Hire, and other people came in to help us. And it was every color of the rainbow that turned into a quilt on the roof that is just beautiful. It looks like a Picasso piece of art.
It's really cool.
And a
Wow.
commercial painter came in, and he just would not stop. He put 2 coats on plus the prime. It just turned out beautifully. And then Mel decided to get creative and fix her mailbox, which had been run over, by making a beautiful vine in his welding shop that is just extraordinary. We gave that to her for a Christmas gift with a rose on top because her name is Rose.
What a wonderful gift you gave her. I mean, I can't even imagine her reaction to all of this.
She's a real sweetheart.
She's, you know,
Actually, we went and got the shingles, at least from one of them. And she's right. They weren't bundled.
oh dear.
That makes them really
They're hard to
difficult.
handle. They're hard to handle.
Yes.
They're
Can't
heavy
take
enough.
them up
in a
on a
bundle.
ladder that way.
Yeah, no.
No, we had a lift, and
Oh my
that
gosh.
was
It was quite a
that
challenge.
kind of went
Quite a
bag.
challenge, but what a wonderful thing. You know, it brings back your, you know, in this time of giving, you know, this time when we're thinking about what other people need, you know, it does my heart good to know that there's people like you out there doing that kind of work. You know, I'm restricted sometimes because it's, you know, I have my funding and I do the most I can with it,
Yeah.
but it takes people like you to make things like that work. It's exciting.
One little vignette about this. The juniper was overgrown.
Yeah, that's
Huge
what she was
thing.
saying.
Yeah. Well,
That was
Bobby
a-
and I started to trim it out, and there's a dryer
It was huge.
in the middle of it. You couldn't find it.
It was
So we
hidden.
drag it out, and it's full of clothes. They're clean clothes.
Okay.
In children's potty chair, there was a bird cage
But
that was huge. It
she
was
took the
unbelievable.
clothes and, washed them again, and they're fine. But they were
What
in
a
the
trip.
You would not believe it.
You know, it's interesting too, because I think this really drives home another point for anybody that's watching, is that, you know, we always talk about third world countries and all the things,
Yeah.
oh, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We need to look in our own neighborhoods. There's people right here that need our help. Right
Yeah,
here
but-
that need our help. Another project that you worked on is that home transformation for Barbara.
Yes. Most recently, this was August of this year that we completed a 7-month project. And what we did is we saw a house that looked abandoned. And it really, really was run down. And I was challenged by a lady that I know that has a subdivision right next to it to do something about this house. Well, I talked to the neighbors and they told me it was abandoned. They didn't think anyone still lived there. So I decided, well, this is not a person that called me, so I'm going to try to find her name to see if I can go to her door. And I was told that she was a problem. She had called the sheriff many times, had mental issues, and to watch out. So fast forward, I get on Google search, and I had her address, and I found her name. So I thought, well, I'll just be careful and go to the door with a letter offering my services for free and see if that works. So I went to the door, and luckily she opened the door and asked me to come in, and 2 hours later she consented for us to help her. But she also then became a problem and started calling me 9 times a day. Some of it was almost suicidal, and I went through a lot of trauma with her. Once we stabilized her, she told me, nope, I don't want any help. And then 2 days later, she calls Mal. So we did start on her project, and it entailed a lot of repairs. Once we did that, we decided to get it painted, and then we decided to also clean up her yard, make sure it looked really nice. Well, we were very surprised at the end of this whole 7-month ordeal that Congressman Paul Gosar contacted us and said he wanted to get his hands dirty and come and help us on the O'Neill house. And then we had a lot of volunteers come in at the end so we could get it painted and do the cosmetic work. And it was just a wonderful success story, because now the whole neighborhood has been revitalized. And once again, when somebody has a home that's that much in disrepair, it affects the morale of the neighborhood. Yes. It also brings in crime, it invites crime, and it also depresses the homes in the neighborhood up to $5,000 in value. So it's very important to the neighborhood as well as to the senior that lived in this home that had no ability to help herself.
And did it not help her?
She's a changed person. I was over there about 2 weeks ago. I've never seen someone more rational and happy and, you know, wanted
sometimes,
just
sometimes
to do
when you
more
get on
and
that,
more. And she actually took someone to dinner from her church. She was out doing things in the community. It was just a complete change.
So, you know, you change out your environment, you can change that person's outlook on life so much.
The stress was gone.
You know, and so not only, like you said, you're changing the neighborhoods, but you're changing those individuals, you know, and that's where, you know, one at a time. One at a time.
One thing I want to mention too, we had a sister project or sub-project with the teens. We did a painted clay pot art contest. And the idea was to signify the neighborhood is blossoming by having teens not only compete and learn and take art lessons to decorate these clay pots, but to donate them to one of the seniors whose homes we had rehabilitated as gifts.
Oh, and it's beautiful.
And his
so you're not talking little clay pots.
No, these are very large, like you would see a wine barrel.
Right.
That's been painted and decorated. So
They're
they're
about 10
beautiful.
gallons.
So nice for the yard. Beautiful.
Yeah, very colorful, and you can see her house really needed the color.
Nice.
So it was quite a nice touch at the end. And
plus, it's an intergenerational project, which we need more
of. What we want. That's what we want. We try to bring them also, connect to the community, and we try to bring, especially the teens, and teach them that they can give back to somebody by just doing little things. The teens really do want to do these things. They love to do these things, but they're not given those opportunities in our area.
So do you work with the schools?
Well, all the schools know me because of all the previous things that I've done. I always bring them in. And whether it's cleaning up the community, I give them leadership roles. I give them all kinds of ways that they can learn to be involved in the civic area.
Nice.
Because that's really important to me.
It's important to learn young. You
Bring
know,
the community together.
Yes.
It takes a village.
It does take a village. It takes a village for everything that we do. So you have another project, the water damage flood control.
Well, this one is a real dramatic story. This is a lady that gets $450 a month income, lived in the oldest subdivision in Cottonwood since 1993, and this is probably the third generation of her family that's been in this home and been flooded since then on 3 sides of this home from surface waters coming in from different directions. After she invited me in and showed me pictures of the home underwater, I said, what do you do when this happens to you? You're in a wheelchair, and she's almost blind. She has glaucoma. She's 76 years old. I mop it up in my wheelchair.
Oh my God.
Well, I was horrified because in September 2014, Hurricane Norbert was heading up from Cabo San Lucas that night. It was the remnants. And I knew that house would go down. I sensed it. And I asked her, do you have any holes in your foundation? She said, yes. I immediately went into action. I ran home and called Mal and begged him, please get into Babe and get over to the city to get some sandbags to secure this house for tonight. Mal is just a hero. I mean, he and another gentleman, Alan, went over there and secured that house for the night, and I really believe they saved the home. Wow. When I looked on the street, not even a 2-foot drainage ditch was there. So I knew there was no time to wait, that I was going to have to try to get an excavator over there. And there was just no time. So by the time we finally got someone to concede that they would do it, because it was such a big job, it was about half a mile and 6 feet deep, they came out there, and she called me on a Saturday morning screaming, why didn't you tell me they were coming? Why didn't you tell me? There were at least 3 tractors lined up on the street. And she went out to thank them, and it was actually the excavator's ex-wife that was driving the tractor and said, you never saw us, and we were never here, and they left.
Wow.
And it's incredible.
The one little detail she didn't mention, if this is the foundation, this is the floor. Out, the floor was about this much higher than the yard. So if you got water, you know, it doesn't take very much water before it's coming in.
No, it doesn't.
And the whole area
So
is
sad.
like that. And it is really an old area. And Cottonwood's a pretty old area itself. So
Yes, it is.
some areas. Some areas in the area are pretty old. in
Been
that
around
area.
a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
that was one.
that lets you know that it doesn't have to flood very high for it to get into the
No,
house.
that's not very, it's just barely off the ground.
Yes.
So you were able to not only secure the road there with that, but you were able to do some work with the home itself.
We possibly saved 3 homes. That corner, it's a triangle, is a very unusual area, but the water was not coming in from the major street, I found out. So we couldn't really determine why it was coming in from 3 sides. But the home next to her sold shortly after that and had a great amount of damage on that side of the house next to her.
The other one I don't want to miss before we run out of time is the accessibility ramp that you built for Mary.
Yeah, this one was a real challenge. I got a call from a bariatric patient who had cancer, cellulitis, and many life-threatening illnesses. And for 12 and a half years, she was served by the local paratransit system. But after 12 and a half years, they said it was unsafe. So we decided the only way to fix the problem was to build this huge, almost like a highway ramp, to the street over a culvert. Now, because of her weight and because of the fact that the paramedics might be on that ramp with her, I knew it was going to take something completely innovative to solve this problem. And I decided that we had to use ATV steel ramps, screwed 2 OSB boards, and we had to use cement piers and things to go over this culvert. And also join this ramp, which was 24 feet long, to the existing ramp with cement. So by the time we did this, it really looked like an aircraft runway. It was pretty amazing because all Mary wanted, and she was nearly blind, was she prayed to ever just be able to go down that ramp herself again, and she was able to do that. It was just heartwarming.
Very exciting
Really
stuff.
exciting.
You were involved with that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
You're always
that's-
there, I think.
Well,
He's in the
this
pictures
is
now.
my partner, Roger.
Okay, there's Roger in the picture,
He's yellow.
Yeah.
down there building the ramp, building the bridge.
So
That is quite,
You can see the
bridge.
length of it.
it looks like a bridge, not just a ramp.
Yeah, well, it's pretty low, but
And so now she's
Yeah.
getting transportation.
She gets transportation all the time, and
Good.
her grandson, who she just adores, can come and visit, and her husband takes him over to the recreation center once a month to go swimming. She can't do it anymore with him, but that's what she lives for. to
Yeah,
see her
you know,
grandson.
and it's those little things that make such a difference in people's lives. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's
Yes.
an economic boost
Mhm.
for your community, but it's a boost for each one of those folks, you know. And so, I would, you know, is there anything you'd like to add before we close the show about your projects and about what help you would like to see from the community around what you
Yes.
do?
Yeah, Mel's in charge of volunteers and materials, so I'm going to turn
Okay,
turn
so-
everything over to Mel.
Well, we can use more projects at all times. Once we can get projects, then we can get volunteers.
Okay.
But until we get projects, and Roger and I are just finishing one up in Sedona, in which we put new steps and a new wheelchair ramp. It's 25 feet long. So we're really, Roger knows a lot about, he's construction for 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'm construction now for 6 months.
Well, you're learning. Well, I would say, what I'll make sure is that, folks call the toll-free number 877-521-3500. I'll make sure my INR staff, and they already do work with you, Dion, I know in particular,
Yes.
works with you,
Yes.
so that, you can call us, we'll help connect you with this fabulous project. If you know somebody who needs help in these areas in Cottonwood, Verde Valley, Sedona, please call
Clarkdale.
us. And Clarkdale, I call that the whole Verde Valley.
We don't cover the whole Verde Valley. We cover Sedona,
Okay,
we cover Cottonwood,
okay,
we cover Clarkdale,
Okay.
and the Verde villages.
okay, in the Verde Villages. So if you're in those areas, call us toll free at 877-521-3500. Sherry Twamley, Mal, and his truck babe, thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for joining us today on Senior Moment. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. Until next time.